Right now, if a stranger sat down next to you on an empty bus, something in your body would shift, not panic, just a small automatic adjustment. Your posture would straighten slightly, your eyes would flick toward them, then away. You'd become aware of your bag, your space, your exits. Now imagine a large dog walked past instead. You'd probably feel curious, maybe even smile. Here's the strange part. Statistically, in most places, the stranger is far less likely to hurt you than the dog, and yet your body doesn't know that. It reacts the other way around. That reaction is ancient, and it reveals something unsettling about what your ancestors were actually afraid of. You'd assume early humans feared predators above all else. Lions, wolves, whatever massive tusked creature happened to be roaming nearby, and to some extent that's true. But when researchers dug deeper into the psychology of ancient survival, they found something that flips this assumption on its head. For your ancestors, the most dangerous threat walking the earth wasn't a wild animal. It was another human they didn't recognize. Predators, for all their danger, were at least predictable. A lion hunted the way lions always hunted. You could learn its patterns, avoid its territory, read its behavior, but an unfamiliar human? That was a different category of threat entirely. Unpredictable, strategic, capable of deception, alliance building, and betrayal. A stranger could smile at you one moment and lead an ambush the next. Evolutionary psychologist Robert Kurzban has spent years studying what he calls the psychology of us versus them. Kurzban's research suggests that the human brain evolved specialized systems specifically for detecting group membership, systems that fire almost instantly, often before conscious thought even catches up. Kurzban and his colleagues found that people categorize others by perceived group allegiance with startling speed, sometimes faster than they categorize gender, using cues as subtle as accent, clothing, or posture. Why would evolution build something this specific, this fast, and this deeply embedded? The answer lies in the brutal math of ancient survival. John Tooby and Leda Cosmides, two of the founding researchers in evolutionary psychology, proposed that humans evolved what they called coalitional psychology. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors' survival depended almost entirely on cooperation within a small, trusted group. Food sharing, childcare, defense, none of it worked without deep, reliable trust between group members. But that same cooperative system created a dangerous vulnerability. If your group could trust each other completely, an outsider could exploit that trust catastrophically. A stranger might scout your camp's defenses, learn your migration routes, discover where you stored food for winter, then return later with allies to take everything you had. Or worse. A wild animal couldn't do any of that. It couldn't plan. It couldn't lie. It couldn't infiltrate your group by pretending to be friendly, then strike once your guard was down. An unfamiliar human could do all three, and this is why your ancestors developed something far more sensitive than a general danger detector. They developed an identity detector. Think about what this meant in practice. A rustle in the bushes might be a predator, dangerous but explainable, something your instincts could categorize and respond to with a fairly standard fight or flight reaction. But an unfamiliar human silhouette on the horizon triggered something more complicated. Not just fear, suspicion, calculation. Who are they? What do they want? Are they alone? Are there more behind them? That complexity required an entirely different kind of alertness, one that stayed switched on far longer than a simple predator response, because the threat itself was more layered, more strategic, and far harder to predict. Here's where the research gets genuinely uncomfortable. Psychologist Mahzarin Banaji, known for her work on implicit bias, has spent decades studying how quickly and unconsciously the human brain sorts people into in-group and out-group categories. Banaji's research shows that these snap judgments happen automatically, often contradicting a person's consciously held beliefs and values. You can genuinely, sincerely believe in treating strangers with openness and fairness, while your brain runs a separate, older evaluation process entirely outside your awareness. This isn't a personal failing. It's inherited architecture. Your ancestors, who hesitated even slightly before trusting an unfamiliar face, were more likely to survive an ambush, more likely to protect their children, more likely to pass those same instincts down the family line. The ones who trusted too easily, too quickly, didn't always get a second chance to learn from the mistake. But there's a twist worth sitting with, because your ancestors didn't build a world made entirely of enemies. They also built alliances, trade routes, and intermarriages between different groups, expanding who counted as us far beyond blood relatives. The fear of strangers was never absolute. It was a starting filter, not a final verdict. Trust could be earned, it just had to be earned deliberately, through repeated contact, shared rituals, and consistent behavior over time, rather than granted immediately on sight. That distinction matters enormously for understanding your own reactions today. You are not wired to hate strangers. You are wired to pause before trusting them completely, and then update that assessment based on new information. The problem is that the modern world moves at a speed your ancient alarm system was never built for. Your ancestors met perhaps a few dozen unfamiliar faces across an entire lifetime. You might pass hundreds of strangers before lunch, every unfamiliar face on a crowded street, every new coworker, every person from a different background or culture technically triggers the same ancient detection system built for scanning a hostile landscape for potential threats thousands of years ago. That system was calibrated for small numbers and slow change. It was never designed for cities, airports, or a world where you interact with more unfamiliar people in a single day than your ancestors encountered in several years combined. Which means your instinctive wariness towards strangers isn't proof that something is wrong with the people around you. It's proof that something ancient is running in the background of your mind, quietly reacting to scale it was never designed to handle. Understanding this doesn't make the instinct disappear, but it does give you something your ancestors never fully had: the ability to notice the reaction happening, name it for what it is, and consciously choose whether to act on it. That single act of awareness, pausing before reacting, questioning the automatic suspicion, choosing curiosity over immediate withdrawal, is something your ancestors could rarely afford in a world where hesitation sometimes meant death. You can afford it now. And every time you do, you're doing something remarkable. You're using a brain built for a world of a few dozen familiar faces to consciously navigate a world of billions of strangers, one deliberate choice at a time. So the next time a stranger sits down beside you and something in your body quietly shifts, remember what that reaction actually is. Not proof of danger, not evidence that something is wrong. Just an old, deeply loyal alarm system, still trying its best to protect you in a world that has grown far larger and far more connected than it ever imagined possible. If this kind of deep dive into human nature is something you enjoy, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next one. Drop a comment below with what surprised you most, and I'll see you in the next video.